Thanks for coming out tonight. I'm Mike. I'm here with POWR, the Providence Organization of Workers and Renters. I'm here with two other members and also Representative David Morales. We're here to speak about Tiara Graham's situation, her struggle with her landlord, the situation involving lead poisoning of her child due to the housing conditions that she's living in, the various types of inspections that have taken place, the failure of those inspections to result in positive changes for living conditions, as well as the pending eviction hearing that Tiara is facing next week on the 22nd. And so to start things off, I'd like to hand things over to Olivia from POWR.
Hey folks, thanks for everyone who came out today. Thanks to Childhood Lead Action Project, our friends from Reclaim Rhode Island. Thank you, Mike. So, we are here today to support Tiara's family and all families who face the unjust threat of eviction. Not one tenant should be evicted if they are forced to live in unsafe housing conditions through landlord negligence. If a house is condemned or unfit for habitation, landlords or the government should be on the hook for relocating such tenants to safe and ultimately deeply affordable housing, public housing that's owned and operated by those who live there. We are against a system that evicts people and makes them homeless. Everyone should have a home. A society that can't house its citizens is a sick society. That said, we need clean hands eviction protections. Protections for tenants that block evictions if landlords have code violations. Protections like those included in the AG's lead bills package, currently before the governor, that would prevent evictions if landlords don't have a lead certificate and allow tenants to pay their rent into escrow. We have gone far too long with everyone from landlords and city governments and the state of Rhode Island failing to support those residents who must rent because they don't own a home, they don't pay a mortgage, or they don't own their own business. Working class renters are building power, like we're building power today, by speaking out, and we are going to continue to build our power and build a community that works for us and all of humanity. The landlord class and the working class have nothing in common. Tenants have nothing to lose but their chains. Up next is going to be Tiara to speak about her situation.
I'm here today because
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you guys. I'm here today because I'm speaking out injustice. 9 months ago, my landlord, Terryl Desuze, of Providence Apartments LLC, was cited for not having his lead safe certificate. After I learned in early May that my child was poisoned by the least paint dust accumulation in my apartment after an unprofessional repair job when my family wasn't relocated. Even though DeJesus should have known our house, 911 Lawn Street, was constructed in 1978 and most certainly had lead poison. In March of this year, my landlord received a second citation for lack of lead certificate and other violations for needing repairs, and started a civil fine of $350 daily, but still wouldn't do the work needed to bring the house to code. This is why I joined POWR, the Providence Organization for Workers and Renters, in April to demand my justice. First, we went to Terrell's house in late April to deliver him a letter asking for full repairs or his assistance in relocating my family to a safer apartment. He refused and told me to evict myself. This is when I decided on May 1st to expose him and the poor conditions my family lives in outside the new apartments his construction company are building on Broadway in Providence, to warn future tenants of what they might expect and spread awareness. After I took these actions with my friends of POWR, my landlord spread lies about my character on social media, leading to an anonymous complaint to DCYF. We believe this came from someone in the landlord's class trying to shut me up and repress my right to free speech and retaliated for our tenant organizing. Excuse me. Now, even though Providence has found a full 20 violations in the building, I've had no recourse, even though it was passed by the GA last year. There are no functional revolving funds to pay rent into when homes are unfit. There hasn't been a court escrow beyond emergency matters like lack of utilities or your house needs to be condemned. Representative Dave Morales billed to establish a process for court escrow when the landlord is non-compliant with lead hazards migration. Has, as far as we know, yet to be signed by the Governor McKee. We need the governor to sign and pass this bill and the Attorney General's package to help hold slumlords accountable and protect families like mine from eviction when there's no compliance with the lead and minimal housing laws. I thank you for all you being here today and supporting my family, and I hope this changes soon.
Now, unfortunately, what we have heard from Tiara is not a unique experience, specifically as it relates to working people living in Providence, Central Falls, Kentucky. All too often, we are hearing stories of working families that are forced to live in deplorable conditions because their landlord or the respective property management company refuses to make the repairs, even if it is in violation of the law. And far too often, they have gotten away with that crap and have allowed for families, specifically young children, to suffer from lead poisoning, to experience these dire conditions and be conditioned to believe that it is normal. One of the main reasons for this is because tenants often lack protections. The laws that we have in place aren't enforced. Cities and towns lack the proper staffing in order to ensure that inspections and building code are actually doing their job. And so what has happened is Tiara's had to suffer month after month of these deplorable conditions, combined with the retaliation of her landlord, combined with an impending eviction case. The power for too long has been shifted at the hands of landlords and property management companies at the expense of tenants who have no rights. And that's why we're gathered here today to mobilize and to demonstrate that we are in solidarity with Tiara's family. We'll continue to be so over the next several weeks, over the next several months. As far as this slumlord wants to take the case, we are going to be here on the front lines to fight back and mobilize. Because gone are going to be the days where slumlords are able to continuously abuse their tenants, whether it is verbally, whether it is physically, or whether it is based on the space that they house the people that pay them their hard-earned money for rent. We made a reference earlier in regards to legislation we recently passed, which is establishing an escrow account for tenants to have an alternative space to shift their money, their rent money, away from their landlord, but instead directly to the clerk of a court any time that their landlord is in violation of the hazard mitigation law. And truthfully, it's a shame that we have to create these quote-unquote incentives for slumlords to actually do the right thing and follow the law in the first place. But yet and still, this is the broken system that we are in. And so this escrow account bill, which needs to be signed into law immediately by Governor McKee, is only a Band-Aid. It is only a Band-Aid to a systemic issue that continues to harm, most notably, people of color, people of lower socioeconomic statuses. And that's why we're going to continue to rally, so we will continue to mobilize and make it clear to all slumlords across all 39 cities and towns here in the state of Rhode Island that you cannot continue these unethical practices because you will be held accountable. Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Mike with the Providence Organization of Workers and Renters. The POWR is a grassroots organization with no paid staff that operates off of principles of direct action and solidarity. We formed to fight back against rent increases, slum conditions, substandard wages, and other issues that affect working class people in the city of Providence. Tiara joined us in April when we went public as an organization. We've been working alongside her to get justice in her fight against her landlord, Terryl Desuze. It has been over 9 months since city inspectors found unsafe levels of lead in Tiara's apartment. City inspectors have been out several times since, citing numerous other code violations. The landlord has failed 4 lead inspections. He still does not have a certificate saying that it's safe to live in that apartment. The city has no official direct mechanism to protect kids from lead poisoning. There's no emergency housing for Tiara's family. There's no housing program which could make safe, affordable housing available to her. There's no mechanism for the city to seize the property or otherwise force Desuze to fix the violations, aside from fines, which amount to a slap on the wrist. Across the city, rents have gone up 20% in the last 30 years. That should be right. Rents have gone up 20% in the last 3 years. The landlord in chief, Mayor Smiley, is trying to raise property taxes, which will further increase rents. The housing crisis for renters is real. People put up with a lot because they don't have any alternatives. The market is not going to solve this problem. Rent control at the city level and the legislation being reconciled today to address lead safety are essential, but not sufficient. The people of Rhode Island need good jobs and safe, affordable housing, not luxury condos and tax incentives for rich developers. Tiara will speak more, or she already has spoken, about the hell that she's been through the last year, and that was only part of it. She's currently facing an eviction hearing on the 22nd. Nobody in this city should be evicted to add to the growing numbers of people who are living on the street. No one should be evicted from apartments that have been cited by the city multiple times for having unsafe levels of lead. No one should be evicted from apartments with the slew of code violations that are still present in Tiara's apartment, months after the city found the violations. In Providence, as in many places, the city will cite a landlord for failing to meet basic safety conditions and then turn around a couple months later and evict the tenant who raised the concerns. This is what they're trying to do with Tiara. POWR is doing what it can to make sure that that does not happen. Thank you.
Yeah. We just want to,
This is channel 10? What channel is this?
Hello. All right, there we go. We just wanted to thank everyone who came out today, especially Representative David Morales, our friends in Reclaim Rhode Island, our friends in Childhood Lead Action Project. We really appreciate any tenants and any support from any other organizations that couldn't be here today in this fight that Tiara is in. We are going to make sure that she is able to live in a safe and healthy home, no matter what happens, and it's going to take everyone's help and support to get there. So thank you again for everyone who came out today, and the fight is not over. Who's got the power? What kind of power? Tenant power!